How's it going, everybody? Tyler back here with some more League of Legends Worlds 2020 content. We just finished up the quarterfinal phase of the knockout bracket, and what a quarterfinal phase it was. Let's run it down through the records real fast. We had Top Esports beating Fnatic 3-2 in the only 5-game set of the quarterfinals. Suning beat JD Gaming 3-1, and G2 and Damwon swept their respective opponents of Gen G and DRX 3-0. Let's break it down game by game. We're going to start with Fnatic versus Top, since it is at the top of the bracket. And this was the first ever reverse 3-0 in Worlds history. Fnatic won the first 2 games. Top Esports responded by winning the next 3. Why did Fnatic have a good first 2 games? It was all off the back of Bwipo and Hylissang. They set up Selfmade and Reckless perfectly with their aggression. I talked about before that Bwipo and Hylissang play this almost int style of League of Legends where they will just go in without care, and it really helped Selfmade and Reckless. Top didn't really seem to find an answer for it. A lot of it was moving around with the Kindred as a unit around the map to make sure that Karsa, Top Esports jungler, could not do anything. Once they shut Karsa down, they were able to just take full reign of the map. If Karsa isn't able to roam the map, then the entirety of Fnatic will be able to, and that is why Top Esports got shut down in those first 2 games. So why did Top bring it back, you're gonna ask then? It was all off the back of Karsa. Karsa went back to the Lee Sin in Game 3. He was trying to carry the game by giving his gold to Knight and Jackie Love. The meta right now is carry junglers, where Graves, Nidalee, Lilia, where you want those junglers who can be really efficient with the gold that they earn from ganks and kills. Lee Sin is generally a champ that they tell you not to pick right now because he doesn't scale. Nidalee, Graves, all scaling junglers. Lee Sin does not scale very well, but what he really is good at is making picks on high priority targets and turning that into kills for his teammates. Well, Karsa is exceptional at Lee Sin. He decided to take the game into his own hands. Knight decided to follow him around the map for some big engages, some big damage, and really just put the team on his back. Now, Game 4 was Fnatic's game to lose, and guess what? They lost it. Jackie Love was 0-4 on the Senna with only 2 items when the game finished around 28 minutes. Okay? Karsa just decided to put the team on his back on the Nidalee. He showed that Nidalee is just actually that strong of a champion. Fnatic was running like a 2 to 3 tank comp, but Nidalee just shreds through tanks regardless. Even as an assassin, it's absolutely insane. Karsa just put the team on his back. It wasn't a solid macro game from either of the teams, but when there were the big turning point, the big team fights, Karsa would come up big, Top would come up big, and that's why they won the game. Fnatic lost all the momentum, and they were just able to run it from there. Then Game 5 was an absolute wrap. Karsa brought back the Lee Sin, just destroyed Nemesis in the mid lane with Knight on the Sylas. They just had free reign of the mid lane, and because of that, Karsa had free reign of the map. He could do anything he wanted. Knight could go anywhere he wanted, and they would pick up kills wherever they were. That is why Top Esports brought it back off the backs of Knight and Karsa, mainly Karsa, making sure that they have control over the map. Top Esports now moves on to face Suning after Suning beat JDG 3-1. Now, this was the only upset of the quarterfinals. I'll say quote-unquote upset of the quarterfinals. They were the only team that I did not have actually winning. Game 1 really set the pace for the series. It was a fast-paced bloodbath. Pretty much what was expected of this series to be. Both teams showed that they were not afraid to take fights, even if they were mans down, and they could even turn them in that case. They both teams really trusted their micro. In games 2 to 4, we saw Suning take a lead. And why? Can't even say it was a comp diff, because both teams actually drafted very traditional comps for this meta, had very clear goals, and both teams try to execute on those goals very well. However, Suning just seemed to be more in sync with those goals, right? Lumao and Kanavi, the support and jungler for JDG, just seemed to took fights when the team wasn't there, really. And Sword Art, the support for Suning, and SOFM, the jungler for Suning, just thrived off of that aggression. They were able to turn that aggression in their favor because Sword Art would match the roams from Kanavi, and SOFM would be was not timid, even if he was down. He would invade Kanavi's jungle, even if he thought that Lilia was in that same side of the jungle, even if he was down, because he just knew he could do it. Bin, here's a real interesting fact for you. Bin on the GP Game 3 started lane with a Sheen. Yes, he bought a Sheen as the first minion wave was spawning. He got a double kill in the jungle, level 1, before minions even spawned. Started the mana crystal, so he then had the 700 additional gold from the first blood bonus and the second kill that he got to buy a Sheen and start lane phase with Sheen. That game was an absolute wrap. Game 4 saw even comps and even fights. It's just Suning got the better of the micro fights. When it came down, when it mattered, they were able to capitalize on any little micro mistake JDG made, and they were able to turn a single Baron into a win. They fought around objectives better in general in that game, but it was a very super heavy micro skill checking series. Absolutely insane to watch. It's exactly what everybody thought the series was going to be, just Suning came out on top instead of JDG. Let's go to the bottom side of the bracket now. First game we got is G2 versus Gen G. And with the 3-0 sweep over G2, I think we can officially call G2 the LCK killers, right? They beat Damwon last year. They beat SKT last year. They beat Griffin. I think they are the official LCK killers. And what this series proved is Yanko can, in fact, carry. Yankos can carry, okay? He's no longer just the CC bot, engaged bot jungler that you thought he was. He can carry. Went 13-7, 33 on 3 different champions. He went Nidalee, Lilia, and Graves in the series. So he wasn't just playing one champion. No, he only died 7 times, got the 13 kills, got the 13 assists. What made this series so good for G2 was the level 1s. They made sure to pull off all these cheeky little level 1 strats to get flash out of targets early. And what are you able to do when you get the flashes from targets early? You're able to kill them. You're able to set up the level 3 ganks with the carry jungler or the roams with the mid laner to make sure that you can get yourself some gold in the pockets. Caps only died 4 times in all 3 of the games and had at least 11 assists in each of them. The roam style still proving to be strong against the LCK team, still looking to work in general. Caps, of course, loves the roam. It doesn't typically stay in lane. Not that 1v1 god like Faker is. He loves to run around the map, look for ganks, and get kills with his team, and that's exactly what he did. So where did Gen G go wrong? First off was the inability to deal with the level 1s. If they weren't able to deal with that and they lost flash on their high priority targets like BDD, it just was going to be a wrap for them regardless. BDD was not allowed to play the game. Let's be first and foremost. He was not allowed to play the game like he wanted to. He was forced onto picks such as Galio, which is not usually what you want to see him playing. He just wasn't allowed to play because Yankos and Mickey roamed up too much to kill him, and because Yankos and Mickey were roaming around the map everywhere, Clid was not able to keep up. Caused his laners to fall behind, and that's just kind of where everything fell apart. A lot of it too also stems from the drafts. They both had good drafts. It's just for whatever reason, going into the games, G2 seemed to understand better how the enemy team's composition worked and how to work around it. Gen G understood how G2's comps work. They just did not work around it very well. G2 will go on to face Damwon, who also swept DRX 3-0, and in the last 6 games these two teams have played, Damwon has won all 6 of them. Showmaker has officially proven to me that he is the best mid laner in Korea this year. I said it was Chovy. Everybody thinks it's still Faker. Well, yes, Faker is a god tier mid laner. Chovy is a god tier mid laner. But this year, I think you got to give it to Showmaker. He only died 1 time in all 3 games. You know who else only died 1 time in all 3 games? Canyon, the jungler. Yes, mid-jungle duos are very, very, very important to the world's meta right now. And the fact that they were able to only die once or twice as a 2 of them is absolutely insane. The inability to control the map on DRX's side proved to be the downfall. Chovy wasn't able to play the laners that he wanted to allow him to get ahead. He also got stuck on the Galio. Pyosik did not do a good job of cross-mapping. If Cannon was making a play on one side of the map, Pyoshik did a really poor job of making sure that he could counteract another play on the other side. Damwon just looked better than DRX as a team. That's why they won. Their micro was better. Their macro was better. They just looked more prepared to play League of Legends that day than DRX did. That's literally the reason why they won. Damwon is still an incredible team, but if DRX shows up, I think that series is held just a little bit closer. So let's talk about the meta heading into semifinals then. Because we've already seen play-ins, we've seen group stage, we've seen the quarterfinals, the meta is pretty much set in stone. Pretty much what we're going to see for the rest of the tournament. Pretty much what we saw in the quarterfinals is what we're going to see for the rest of the tournament. So what is the meta? What have we learned? Well, red side is favored by the teams. And of the 15 games played in the bracket in the quarterfinals, 11 of the wins were on red side. So pick red side. Level 1s are optimal if you can pull them off. You don't necessarily have to get a kill. You don't have to commit super hard to a fight. But if you can get somebody's flash, 2 people, 3 people's flash for like an ignite, that is well worth it. But you have to be able to do it good. If the other team is expecting it, there are easy ways to counter if you don't set up the proper vision to counter the invade. I know that sounds weird. You don't usually set up the vision to counter the invade. You set up the vision to make sure you don't get invaded, but you don't usually set up the vision to counter the invade. It sounds weird. I hope that makes sense. But getting early flashes is all you're looking for with these level 1s, and if you can do that, then it's very optimal. We talked about how games would just be an Orin diff, just ban Orin, just don't let him go through. Well, Orin is beatable, but there are very few conditions in order to beat an Orin, and I'm going to label them out for you what I have. Number 1, you have to leave top on an island unless you bring 3 or 4 up for the Orin, and it has to be centered around an objective. You can't just pick the Orin and do nothing with it. You have to make sure you're killing the Orin side laning when there's an objective about to spawn so that his death timer will not match up in which the objective is on the map. You don't want him on the map. And you want the kill to either go over to a mid laner or a carry jungler. You want to make sure the gold ends up on the right person. You don't want it on your support. You don't want it on your top laner. If your top laner is playing someone like a Shen, you need to make sure that the gold is going into the right hands. Otherwise, you're not capitalizing on the kill as much because the later in the game he goes, the harder he gets to kill. Sylas is also a very good counter for a couple of reasons. He can steal his ult, which is the biggest one, which makes it hard for Orin. If he wants to use the Orin Horn to engage on the Sylas's backline, the Sylas can send it right back and engage on his backline, basically making it a stalemate of knockups. Also, Sylas has pretty dependable CC in the fact that he can dash to the Orin and make sure he can't get the second Orin Horn off, which leads me to my next point of point and click CC helps too. If Orin is going to Orin Horn, you have to make sure he can't get that second proc off. If he can get that second proc off, that's when your team is screwed. But if you have the point and click CC, something like a Pantheon, even something as simple as a Set, maybe a Camille, something with very reliable CC to make sure that Orin can't get his second Orin Horn off, then you will be in a good shape for the team fights. Another big meta thing is Sylas. He should be a very prime pick moving forward. Players like Caps and Showmaker really showed why he's important. He's a good counter to a lot of the control mages that are dominating the mid lane right now because of his all-in. His all-in is very potent. He can do a lot of damage and get out and sustain off of that damage with his Kingslayer, especially the later in the game it gets. He is a great counter to picks like the TF, the Galio, the Shens with the global ults, the Orins, the Ashes, because he could steal those global ults. And then in certain cases like the Ashes, the damage of the ult scales off AP ratio, and because Sylas builds AP, Ash Arrow will do a lot of damage plus stun. So it's a very good counter to those global pick tools that a lot of teams try to use. He's also a very solid team fighting champ with the sustain and the CC that he offers. He has very good flank potential, and of course, stealing ultimates is always the way. No matter whose ultimate it is, stealing an ultimate, it always ensures that he has the best ultimate in the game. Because whatever ultimate is the best ultimate on the enemy team side, he also has. So Sylas always has the best ultimate in the game. And the last point, when in doubt, pick Kindred. If as a team you're struggling to fight around objectives or to communicate effectively and coordinate effectively around objectives, pick Kindred early in the draft and pick champions and ban champions that will allow you to win lanes. Basically, the way this works is you want to have winning lanes to enable the Kindred to get her marks and roam around the map effectively so she can snowball the game. When you're able to do that, you force yourself to work around the Kindred. Therefore, you force yourself to work around objectives. No longer are you saying, let me farm because I need the gold. Now you're saying, let me pick up this farm so we can push the wave so we can move as a team. When you have the Kindred, it forces you to do that from level 1. So you're always in that mindset for the entire game so you never get out of it. LGD did this in the play-ins, and that's how they found success. A lot of teams who have had trouble around objectives have been doing this, and they have found a lot of success with it. That's why just pick Kindred if you don't think you're playing well as a team. Let's do some predictions. Let's do Suning versus Top Esports first. Suning is playing really good League of Legends right now. They know how to match aggression with aggression. They're not afraid to take fights because they trust their micro. However, Top looks so strong right now. Karsa and Knight have turned it on. They understand what they're doing. They will make it very hard for SOFM and Angel to breathe around this map. And Jackie Love is always liable to pop off. Huang Feng is compared to Jackie Love a lot of the times. I think in due time, Huang Feng will be his own name. Nobody will be comparing him to Jackie Love. People will be comparing players to Huang Feng. But I still think Jackie Love, with the experience that he has on the world stage, winning a championship already, is going to be more well-suited in this series. I have Top winning 3-1. Suning definitely can take a game off of them. I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to take 2. But Top Esports, they should be fired up after that game after Fnatic. It should have woke them up a little bit. I don't think that they'll take 2 games to warm up. Damwon versus G2. Both teams are playing their best League of Legends right now. Damwon's ability to control the pace of the game, even while behind, is absolutely incredible. They can keep playing aggressively through the side lanes, manipulate them in a way to control the team who is ahead to act the way that they want them to and to take the fights, even though they're behind, take fights that they know that they can win. But they're dealing with G2, the masters of split pushing. This will be the ultimate LCK killer test for G2. If G2 are able to beat Damwon here, I think for sure we can call them the LCK killers without a doubt. They beat Damwon 3-1 in the quarterfinals last year, but now Damwon are favored to win the entire tournament, so it's just a little bit different, but it's still a huge test. I give Damwon the edge because of the early objective pressure they like to put on the game. G2 only takes first drag around 20% of their games, regardless of whether or not they're in the lead or not, while Damwon does it around 50 to 60%. Jankos is really good at cross-mapping, however. That's why they don't really worry about taking objectives, because Jankos has such a good game sense on where the enemy jungler is, and instead of playing to that side, majority of the time he plays on the opposite side. Really good at cross-mapping. G2 can force fights around objectives even when they are down because of the way they set up their lanes, but Damwon's really good at doing that too. Their macro 2 minutes before an objective spawns usually is like a 2-minute drill for a football team. It's absolutely crazy watching them set up objectives, and it's something that really needs to be a lookout when they're playing against Damwon. But again, Damwon are the masters of pace controlling, and if they can set the pace of the game early, they can set up G2 for some really bad situations like we've seen other teams do in the past. But G2's always liable to come back. And in this meta with the Souls, the force fights around objectives makes it a little bit harder, but G2 coin flips micro all the time, and they're really good at doing it. So G2 always liable to come back if they go down. That's why I have Damwon winning 3-2. Gonna be an absolute banger of a series like every G2 series is. So that's all I have for this episode, this little wrap up of the quarterfinals. Semifinals start tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, with finals following the next Sunday. Make sure you watch them because, again, they're going to be absolute bangers of games on both sides. But until next time, I'll see you guys around.